The Mighty Nein animated series gets a big update.
It's about damn time.
While all eyes were on the Legend of Vox Machina Season 3 last week, with the announcement that the new season will be released in October, and the reveal of a new title sequence.
A big theme for Season 3 is how the group tackles adversity, what happens when the pressure is put on, and when I think that tightly knit group starts to fracture a little bit, how they deal with that.
Amazon Studios also provided a small but notable update about its Mighty Nein animated series. Namely, that the cast of Critical Role was currently recording for that show as well. Based on the timeline, this likely means that the show will be released sometime in 2025. Now, The Legend of Vox Machina is a definitive success for Critical Role, but the Mighty Nein animated series has the potential to eclipse that for several reasons. While Vox Machina, of course, benefits from being the first Critical Role campaign, the Mighty Nein was actually the first complete campaign that fans could follow from start to finish on the streaming show. You probably know that Geek and Sundry had the Critical Role cast pick up their existing home game, which was actually using Pathfinder and not Dungeons & Dragons, and start it basically in media res on the channel. Now that, of course, worked for Geek and Sundry, and we all know the story of how Critical Role became a big success, but The Legend of Vox Machina, the animated series, had to work around that a bit, with the initial 30 or so episodes of Critical Role basically scrapped and replaced with some rushed bits to get the show to the Briarwood arc. Now, of course, there's some other factors there that we won't get into. Let's just say that The Legend of Vox Machina omits a character that appears early on in Critical Role, and you can do your own research on that if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Ooh, so mysterious!
But obviously, there was some bumpy adaptation hurdles with the first season that's evident to a lot of fans and in the pacing of that show. Now, the Mighty Nein, of course, doesn't have that problem, and it also benefits from even more arcs throughout the series. Vox Machina's campaign featured various spotlight arcs on the characters, but that often meant that those characters really just existed in the background once those arcs were wrapped up. Grog and Percy were the most notable examples of that in Vox Machina, and the Mighty Nein doesn't really have the same problem for the most part, as the spotlight arcs tended to be smaller and were incorporated into the overall plot of the story. Every character in the Mighty Nein had a meaningful character arc that lasted into the final third of that campaign, which isn't something we can really say about Vox Machina. Finally, there's the reality that the Mighty Nein is simply more popular with a lot of Critical Role fans. Fan polls have consistently put Mighty Nein ahead of Vox Machina, and the Mighty Nein campaign had much higher Twitch viewership, with 42,000 to 43,000 viewers per episode compared to about 28,000 to 29,000. Now, there's some other factors besides pure popularity that goes into that, such as, the pandemic, but the reality is that the Mighty Nein simply had a lot more exposure that Vox Machina didn't. Now, of course, there's probably some challenges to adapting the Mighty Nein. The show has a lot more political intrigue than Vox Machina, and that's not something that necessarily translates well to animation. And some casual fans may wonder whether the Mighty Nein is a sequel to The Legend of Vox Machina, and thus avoid it until Vox Machina wraps up. Still, given the success of The Legend of Vox Machina, it's likely that the Mighty Nein will meet or even exceed it and become Critical Role's biggest success yet. So, what do you think about the Mighty Nein news? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.